wonder people stay so engaged.
Yeah, they love it because real life is sloppy. You know what I mean? Like, I do some prep, that like...
Sloppy was my dating life.
You've been married for a while now, though, right?
Yeah, like 6 years.
6 years. Yeah.
6 years.
How long were you guys together before that?
Like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had known her for years, though.
Oh, yeah, you told me that. They call it the Texas two-step.
Yeah, where I'm her neighbor, and then I'm living with her.
Yeah. Listen, I always thought that I would have to, date a girl for, 10 years before I got married. But the older you get, you know what you're looking at, and you know what you're looking for, and especially if you've been friends with the person beforehand, it's like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
She's not going to secretly be a psycho.
Yeah.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to the latest episode of the Long Ash Podcast. Thank you for, we had a week sabbatical while I was away at the trade show. I am back now. As you can see, Chris has started his paternity leave, so we wish him the best. He had a beautiful little child. I'm not going to give out any information because not my place, but he had a beautiful little child. With me, joining me as my guest host for this first week is Andy D'Angelo, who's now our big analytics business guy.
He remembered my last name this time.
I did. Dude, I have a problem, I'll tell you. And it's weird for a guy who's a history major. I have a problem with names and dates.
Really?
Yeah. I have a lot of trouble remembering birthdays. A ton of trouble.
Facebook and
Well, that's the thing. Facebook was helping me for so many. It's like how you used to be forced to have to remember phone numbers, and then once cell phones came out, you don't have to remember them. So I was so used to just knowing based on Facebook, and then people stopped using Facebook. So no one recently that I know it doesn't pop. And I'm not really on Facebook anymore.
Actually, every time my birthday comes up, my wife's like, your mom said a bunch of really nice stuff. You should log on to Facebook and reply. Speaking of Mom, I'm still trying to get to there to reply to you. I haven't been there yet.
Thank God my parents do not have social media. They were the last of that generation to be like, nah, we don't want to get involved.
It got
in this.
even worse. My parents they're on Facebook or whatever. But my in-laws are now friends with my parents through their Facebook
do they
interactions.
send stuff?
They've met each other once.
Why once?
Once at the wedding, and that was it.
Where are they? Are they not in the same part of Texas?
No, well, they're in Houston, but one's 45 minutes to the west, and the other one's an hour and 45 minutes to the north. And it's all technically still Houston because it's just that giant.
But they just never decided to get a lunch or something.
Nah. Maybe they aren't that good of friends.
Maybe they're just sending really shady memes on Facebook.
Like back in the day when somebody would poke you on Facebook and you're like, I guess I'll poke you back.
It depends. I unfortunately, I was a little bit of a weirdo in my high school days. I was the poker. And you never poked your buddy. It was always the girl you met at the party and then you added her a week later and then a couple days after that you give her a poke to talk to me.
Yeah.
Say something.
When my niece was a kid, I forget what age she actually got on Facebook, but that was her thing, was to poke me. And that's all that
that was the only interaction.
The only interaction. It was just every once in a while I just get a poke from her.
That's sweet though.
Yeah, I got a phone call from her the other day. It's sweet. She's great. She's my only niece. She's not my only niece, but
man, we gotta have a whole episode just on your wild family dynamics.
Yeah, let's cut these out. But she calls me the other day in the car, and I'm like, oh hey Ava, her name's Ava. Hey Ava, how's it going? She's like, oh, I wanted to show you my new Crocs, and I was like, you haven't called me in 6 months, and you call me for new Crocs? I was like, what?
Who didn't pick up before? Where?
That's exactly what it was.
Where am I on the list?
She said she went down the line. I was number 5 or 6.
So my niece, who is 6, has now gotten in the habit of taking her dad's phone and FaceTiming only a select group of people, namely just me and my brother. And I never talk to my brother-in-law via phone. I talk to my sister if I need anything. He's not a big texter or whatever. So anytime I see a FaceTime call coming in from my brother-in-law, I'm like, this is Vera, and I answer it. And then she lost a tooth a couple weeks ago. So my brother-in-law texts me. He's like, hey, she just lost a tooth, but she's it's loose. I need to pull it, but she's afraid. I told her I would call the tooth fairy. Can I call you and you could pretend to be the Tooth Fairy.
All right, let's
so
hear
I did. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing it. But I did it then, and she believed me. Okay. Fast forward to I'm at PCA, which is I'm exhausted.
The Italian charm.
I'm exhausted, dude. It's disgustingly. It's just so busy and hectic. It's also French Quarter Festival at the same time,
yeah.
so it's just obscenely. The entire city is mobbed, and then we're on like from the end of the trade show to like get back to the hotel to get dressed for dinner. I had like 25 minutes, and 20 minutes of that was just getting back to the hotel, and then. Because so many people were in the hotel, the elevators, I was on floor 21, elevator stopped at every single floor down to 3 to pick up more people. So it's going. I'm trying to rush, like people are down there waiting. And then I just get a phone call from my brother-in-law as I'm like walking out of the elevator. I'm like, hello? He's like, hey, is the Tooth Fairy there? And I'm like, I don't have time for this right now. And I hung up on him.
Did you follow up on that?
Well, he had texted me like I'm going to call you for Tooth Fairy, but I didn't see it because I was so like in the middle of stuff. Now I had told them I was at like a trade show in New Orleans for the week, so I thought maybe they would be like, oh, let's not like bother him. But no, they needed the Tooth Fairy there.
Yeah, just to wait till you become a dad.
Oh, don't even. It'll happen soon enough, but hopefully not for like a little bit. It's like a little tiny bit.
Yeah, you got to travel a little more.
Exactly. So I went to the 2025 PCA Premium Cigar Association trade show in New Orleans. My first trade show since 2019. Right now, we are smoking some of the new cigars that were unveiled. You have the new Espinosa Knuckle Sandwich Puro.
Yeah.
I think it's just all Nicaraguan tobacco. And I have the stunningly new Aganorsa 25th edition, or limited, whatever they say. The 25th anniversary cigar. Only 1,000 boxes made. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 1,000 boxes? Yes, 1,000 boxes of 10 made. But every retailer is only allowed to order 5. And it's by far the highest MSRP, I think, for an Aganorsa product ever.
$30.
Yeah.
$30 is, yeah. How much is this? Because this is super good.
Yeah, it's probably in the realm of other knuckles.
I'm also a huge fan of Espinosa.
But we had those samples the other week that were tremendous. They were absolutely tremendous.
Right. Now that we've shout out the name, I can take off the second name. Because, God, yeah.
So I will say there's a little... Oh, speaking of which, I'm getting a text from Terrence right now. Thumbs up. Nice.
Not the strong arm?
Well, no, usually... No, but usually you get a thumb up... If you ask somebody a question and then you reply, you get a thumb up, like, right away. This is going back to a text exchange from, like, 4 hours ago, and I just got the thumb up. I'm like, what have you been doing? You can't thumb me up earlier.
The thing is Terrence is a super hustler, so he's probably actually been busy to the gills.
He's so busy, and they purposely brought on Fabian to like take over more of like the event and like the fun duty, so he can focus more on that. He's still like on the road constantly.
You know what you do next time your brother-in-law or your brother's like, "Hey, we need the Tooth Fairy." Give him Terrence's number. No matter how busy he is, I bet he'd play Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, it'd be the greatest day of our lives. That's what he always says. Greatest day of our lives. No, when was the last time you were at a trade show? Probably 2 years ago.
Yeah,
or was it before COVID?
I went to the one. Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, went with like Joe and I think Rob and Bobby.
Okay.
And then before that, I went to. Back when it was like IPCPR and whatever the other acronyms there were. But I think then I went from like 2008 to like 2018. I went like every
I thought
year.
Your first one was 2008?
I think so.
I thought your first one was 2015.
No.
Who else? Somebody else that I know, because my first one was 2015. And somebody else I know also that was their first one.
So the first one I went to... technically went to was when they had it in Houston, because the company I worked for literally bought all the accessories off the floor and they just trucked them over like half a mile to the store, and dude, that was a mess.
Yeah,
just throwing lighters in boxes and sorting it later. There
was a time period where it was very like kind of not randomized, but like it would change up cities. Houston, it was Orlando one year. Now it's pretty much, I mean, at least for the next 4 years, it's pretty much just Vegas, New Orleans, Vegas, New Orleans. So this year was New Orleans. It'll be New Orleans again next year, and then after that, 2 years in a row in Vegas. which I don't like. I like New Orleans way better.
Yeah, New Orleans is great.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
I hope they don't schedule it for the same time as French Quarter Fest, because that was a nightmare. Because that ended on Sunday, and then we were still there all day Monday. Monday, the city was great. We walked down to the boulevard, and we went to go get a po' boy, and it was super calm and not. But it's like they took this amazing city that has so much history, so much to do, so much culture, so much architecture, and then they said, "Oh yeah, by the way, you can just do whatever the fuck you want, like all the time." And like those are the people who go there. It's just people just who want to do whatever they want all the time.
It's all the out of towners.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's insane. But in terms of this trade show, so again, I haven't been since 2019, and a lot's happened since then. First of all, we had the couple years where like the big four weren't going.
Yeah.
General, Drew, Altidus, and Davidoff. Then there was COVID. The last time I went is when they announced that whatchamacallit day, like a consumer day, and
Which
everyone
is
boycott. You can't have it. Listen, it's hard enough. Like especially if you're a small mom and pop shop, it's hard enough to like set meet. Imagine a small mom and pop shop, even at the trade show as it is now, trying to set time with like Jonathan Drew, or like those guys. It's almost impossible. So if you add in consumers who have there's enough consumer events every day. There's consumer events, and there's Big Smokes and the Great Smokes and Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest. There's plenty of those things. This is the one time where the actual business entities can come together, and it's not about like getting Jonathan's autograph, or it's not about getting to see Carlita. It's about like, hey, we have business. Like let's.
Yeah, and especially like for the bigger guys, a lot of the new orders is handled before, but like for the mom and pops where they may only see a rep once a quarter, it's their power hour where they get to see every vendor, talk to every vendor, get a discount on products so they can make a little bit more margin.
And listen, a lot of the people that we met are people that we meet with regularly. The Drew guys come in once a quarter, General, EPC. And we meet with them regularly, and there was still like a lot we discussed at the show. Mm-hmm. I think we had 2 hours with Drew, and there was still more we could have touched on.
How many people were in the booth with you?
So the booth they had a private meeting room that we were in. It was just the three of us, and then Brian and Ryan. The booth was huge, absolutely huge.
I've had, there was one meeting I had with them, and it was like they were going through some transition. This was a while ago. But there was like...
Maybe the Swisher buyout?
Maybe this is right when Swisher
So we used to...
them.
I remember when I used to go after the Swisher...
Yeah, four of us. There were like 6 or 7 of them. And it was hectic.
After the Swisher buyout, that's when I started going to it, because I think the Swisher buyout happened in like 2014, 2015. 15 and 16 when I went to the show... I remember there being like a bunch of like VPs and stuff in those which is like, I'm glad it's not like that now. I'm glad, maybe the old regime that we had needed that like fluff up where it's like, oh, we're a big. It's like we would just much rather like, let's get down to business.
The interesting thing with that, because this is like the hindsight, and you're gonna have this too, is whenever Swisher bought them, everybody's like, dude, there's gonna be Blondie mass markets. Like, their quality is going to go to crap. Like, they're going to start releasing slews of new products and weird flavors. And they kept saying, no, it's just an influx of cash. Yeah. That's it. And guess how it turned out? It was an influx of cash. That was it.
Yeah.
Like, they kept the business
They
the
have
same.
not... In fact, they've gotten more away from their flavored stuff with the acid, which they're still making, and it's probably still their number one seller.
Oh, yeah.
But putting much more into Deadwood, which is like just sweet capped. Like, Deadwood is fastly overtaking acid in that realm. And then recently, they've done a good job of like tightening up their portfolio. And the new bigger products they have released. I mean, I really like Blackened. I know it's been, it had kind of like a big initial release, and I think it tempered out a little bit. But
it's still moving.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Liga is just a juggernaut. And even when they introduced the new ones, like the H99, once they got production on that sorted, because I remember that first year it came out, like both that and the Liga 10, it was like you couldn't find a box anywhere. Once I got production, figured out for that, that is probably my favorite regular production cigar they make is the H99. I think that it's the most straightforward Liga, and like Brian and Ryan say, it's a Liga you can have like really any time of day. I know you probably prefer T52 or
I think it was funny because you were like, "That's my favorite Drew," and I was sitting there and I just drew a blank and I was like, "What's my favorite?" Because I know that I like really strong cigars, but I feel like Undercrown is just kind of more strength than I want.
More so than you want in that cigar.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just slowly changing. I quit smoking cigarettes like a year ago.
I know. Listen, I'm telling you, my palate has changed like majorly probably 4 times in my cigar career. Going from like not like really just trying anything, like I used to smoke Don Tomas's all the time and Partagas Blacks, to a really big focus on super strong stuff. Then a really big focus on broadleaf and like just Maduros all the time. Now I'm at like a medium body, a lot of flavor, tobacco sweetness, like a complexity. I like complexity and transitions and medium. But it has definitely like there's stuff that I smoked boxes of 10 years ago that like I really wouldn't want one of them now.
Yeah.
just because your palate changes. But I would say, I think the H99 is my favorite Drew of all time. Is initial years UF13. Like that's the one.
Yeah, I remember when we got those in at the store. Like we got them in, and it was the first Unico that they released. I think it was before Liga too. Was it? It was somewhere around that time. And I remember getting it in and like looking at the box. We got like 8 of them for 200 stores. We got 8, and I like opened it up, and I was like, "Looks nice." And that was my only thought. Like I didn't realize that the Unico stuff was going to be so hard to get.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially back. So we didn't even. Here's our problem. We didn't even carry Liga. I mean, I think the first Liga came out 2005 or 6. Is like the kind of the pre whatever. We didn't carry it at JR until 2013. Like, cause I remember going with Dane and somebody else, maybe he was my other buddy, to CI in Hamburg, like when the Superstore opened. Had some beers there, and I bought like my first Liga there because we just didn't sell it.
Yeah.
And then I think we got it in like maybe that next year before I started in corporate, but I had been in the store for a while, so maybe 2013ish, 2012, 2013. Is when we first... So, like, so much of the kind of the initial hype about that brand had happened before, like, we even sold them here. So I kind of missed out on that.
So my favorite interactions is when Laura from Drew Estate would call me with allocations. Because it would be like a back and forth negotiation. She'd be like, I got... How many UF13s do you want? And I'd just go, all of them.
Yeah.
And she goes, I can't do that. I can only give you like 8. And I was like, 8's not even like, that's barely, that's like not even
paper for me to send you the
store.
PO. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, we do this back and forth, and it was always hilarious. And then I guess once they got production up, there were times where she'd call and she'd be like, hey, I can give you like 30 number 9 Toros. And I go, what about 70? And sometimes she'd go, all right. And she'd just give me 70. And I was like, oh, okay.
Nice. Because they will move. They always move.
That was the first release, uber hype, like everything was...
That was the first kind of release like that in like the modern era, where like Opus had that kind of vibe, but the media and like the social interaction of cigars wasn't nearly where it is now. So when Opus came out, he did do the like stores can only sell you 2 and this and...
Yeah.
But I think what was cooler about that is it was much more word of mouth. It wasn't like plastered on a big magazine yet, or it was literally like a guy that you knew at a store in New York City. It's like, hey, you should buy 2 of these, but like don't tell anyone. Then of course, like it would make you want to tell the next guy, and they've maintained that since. They've maintained that level of like this is how we're handling Opus. So back to the trade show. To be honest, there wasn't a ton. I feel like last year there was a lot of new like core line stuff.
Yeah.
This year I didn't see too much of it. So off the top of my head, I mean, there's the new Obviously, the new Romeo 150th, which is big. So, like, some of the bigger companies had core line stuff. So, for Altus, the Romeo 150th, which I think is going to be a huge hit. The Trinidad Miami and the new aging room Heritage Finca.
It's the teal box.
Yeah, but listen, it looks really good. I haven't gotten a chance to try
When you look at the boxes on the shelf too, it'll help pop with the regular Quattro and the Sonata.
Exactly. Then you have General, which I think had a pretty, or I guess it was Forged, who was actually at the show this year. 2 new releases, a new Partagas that I can't pronounce, but it looked really cool. I didn't try that one yet. And then the new La Gloria Cubana made by Ernesto.
Yeah, which is solid. It's
really
good.
It's very
The price point is
is excellent, and it's very interesting and a telling move to see them maneuvering into that price point right now. And I think it's smart.
Well, like we've seen it here where, it's kind of a struggle. Things, I don't know if you've looked at the stock market lately, but I'm not looking at my 401k. But yeah, we see it on our side that people are a little bit more value conscious, and talking to Adam and those people, I told them the same, which adjusted some promotions. And they ran that up the flagpole, and that's kind of, we had some influence on that.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, listen, particularly factories, maybe not all manufacturers, because you have a lot of, brand builders, guys like John, like who don't necessarily have their own factory, but factories typically work on pretty nice. They're pretty nice how much they're making on those cigars.
It's not razor margins; it's 2x4 margins.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So when they're selling something for $15, I'm going to take Dunbarton out of this, and I'll explain why in a minute. But usually, like, unless they're actually like they're buying tobacco and it costs a certain amount to buy that tobacco from somebody else, but generally, like, it's not really costing them that much to make. So when they charge you $15 or something, a lot of it is the branding behind it. Like, it's got the cool box and the accessory. And it's like all that kind of gets included. But generally the cigar should be around the same value. What's interesting with how Dunbarton does it is he basically just has an equation of cost with this thing with price equals my margin. And he has a set margin that he makes on everything, on all of his items. So for like the unicorns, if he wants to make something that retails for $100 and he's going to make the same margin on it that he makes on everything else, he actually had to do throw ridiculous things into the cost. Like, he had to go and buy special molds and like I got like extra paper for the thing. Like, he jacked the cost up so he would still only make the margin that he makes. It's not like, it costs the same as my other cigars, I'm just charging you $100 for it. It's like, no, this is the amount it actually costs to make this, which I think is funny.
It was one of his things for the unicorns. What was it? He I don't know how much of this is a shtick and not a shtick, but he'll say like he'll roll 100 of them and then throw 90 away.
Yeah,
and that's how he gets to the price.
Yeah, whatever he has to do to get to like this. Now I'm at the right cost,
which is hilarious. But it's also telling that General did, lowered prices like that for their incoming products, because it's, there's, with all the tariffs going on, with, people getting hit, stock market and all that, it's nice that they gave something back to the customer, so to say. It sounds silly, but like you got to remember that the customer is your endpoint.
Exactly.
And that's the person. Like, there's times, like, we're in the middle of reworking all our samplers and building a new program up and stuff. And like, I was making, I think it was like the catalog samplers or Cinco de Mayo samplers. It's something like that. And I must have made it like 5 times, because I was like, I would do it and I'd be like, all right, let's mix some private label with some big brands, this and that. And I look at it and I'm like, there's no way I'd buy that, And then it's like, okay, then you got to rework it again, you rework it. And then I'm constantly doing if I sell it for $79, I make this much, but man, it'd be cool to do $69. Like, and then you work it back, you figure out how to make it work. So yeah.
I will say one of my one of my main talents and main reasons why I've been able to get to where I am in this industry is not from some higher intelligence or understanding of retail. Like I understand enough. But one of the things that I've been most accurate with is my ability to put myself in the generic customer's shoes.
Yeah.
And be like, if I think this is cool and will work, most likely it'll work. That's really it. That's really, I don't have some deeper understanding. It's just, I act as your typical cigar consumer where stuff like this is really impressive, and if I have the money, I'll get it. But then this is over here is the stuff that I would be willing to buy every day for this, and that reason. And it's worked out almost all the time. I've just been like, 50th campaign, for example. Like, I think this would be cool with these, even though we don't do a lot with these brands.
Yeah.
If we did this, I think it would be really cool. And and I think that is a talent that some people have. I think you have it as well. Being able to put yourself in. You have the added benefit of also being really numerically smart, but being able to put yourself in that position of like, I wouldn't fucking buy this for this much money, man. Like this is stupid.
And you got to be honest with yourself too. Like if am I going to pay $80 for this? It's like no. Like to me, is it a deal? Yes. Is it going to get me to run out and buy it right away at $80? No. But at $69, yeah. Like it's only $10 different. But yeah, I will say like it's I guess funny side note is I'm also a very stubborn person.
Mm-hmm. Oh no!
I don't know if you know this, but to get the initial product merchant job, I applied for the position 4 times.
Why? Well, they kept hiring other people and then would come back to you, or you kept.
I think 3. One of them. No, actually, I think every time they decided to dissolve the position, so it wasn't open. But like I had multiple interviews with Maribel. I applied multiple times. I mean, even to get to the analyst position I'm at now.
You were
2 years.
Yeah, you've been digging at that. They announced it like a year ago. Is when it was announced that this is what you were going to be doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you're a man. Listen, you're what's it like a gopher? What's the animal that keeps going? Meerkat? There's something like that. There's some like animal that just like won't
stop.
Badger.
Yeah. Honey badger can't stop.
No, but I think it. So did you ever see the movie Margin Call?
Huh?
Did you ever see the movie Margin Call? No. It has like Jeremy Irons and Kevin Spacey. It basically came out in like 2000.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with this cigar. I just
on the podcast, I've
been staring at it, being like, is everybody going to be like, oh, it burns shitty? No, it burns perfect. It smokes great.
It takes place at this fake company. It came out in like 2009, and it's basically about like the financial crisis. And it basically has this like fake like hedge fund or like fake bank that does the same things that all those other banks did at that time. And Jeremy Irons plays like the CEO, and he basically says, he's like, I'm not smart. He's like, I didn't get here for like all this education. He's like, the only reason I'm in this chair is because I have the ability to know what the music is going to do today, tomorrow, and a year from now. And like sometimes like that's what it doesn't take like some high degree in finance or it's like, I just know where the patterns are going to go. And I think that is so much more valuable in a lot of these industries than, having if somebody went to Columbia for brand management, you all right?
Yeah.
You need another letter?
No, it was like 5.
If somebody went to school for brand management to Columbia, they're not coming close to what I could do. And there's people in this industry who would kick my ass and really, with the same resources I have, do a 10 times better job than me. It's all in the individual.
There's like, because I've done 2 internships in my life that both led to actual careers. And it's like, and school for both. So school, intern, and then actual working. And it's like, when you go to school, you're kind of just taught the basic ideas, and then you do internship, and it's like, oh, okay, this is how it actually works.
This is how you apply what you learn.
But then once you're thrown into the thick of it, then you're like, okay, now it's time for me to make my own way.
Yeah, and so often a lot of what you learned in school doesn't actually apply.
No.
Like so often.
No.
So I was building the social media pages here for years, and then I'm like, maybe I should take a course in like social media marketing. So they paid for me to take like a course through like Boston University, like EDX program. It was like Social Media Marketing 101. Just to like see like, hey, I'm on the right track. I didn't go to a single lecture or anything after the first one. I got a 100 on the entire, every quiz and then the final. Got 100 on the entire, because it was just like, it was so spoon-fed, and I'm like, dude, throw these guys just in the trenches and they'll learn way more.
Yeah.
It's so much better to just be in it.
You know, HR offered to pay for some certifications and other classes that I needed, and it's like that's the whole shtick of it, right? Is like you can watch a YouTube video and see, oh, here's the new reporting for XYZ. That's great. You can recreate that, but then it's what do you do with that?
Right.
Like, it has nothing to do about making it. Making it's the easy part. It's how do you make it actionable?
Listen,
at that point.
I have learned more about Excel in the past year just by like having to use it every day for everything than if I took an entire year's worth of courses on it in college 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I have learned more on how to utilize this and what it should be utilized for now than what they taught me.
I mean, I had like the imposter syndrome when I first started.
I still do.
Because it was like, I think it was within like 6 or 8 months. I had never used Excel, and it was like 6 or 8 months. Rob's like, you know, hey, you should like do little roundtable classes for the team to, you know, for this and that. And I was like, you know, I was like, what do you do? I've been doing this for 6 months.
Dude, you're my Excel guy. Well, so I'll tell you. Warren is my Excel guy for XLOOKUP. He taught me all about XLOOKUP. But for everything else, I mean, dude, there's so many times, like I'm trying to do something right now. I'm trying to get codes from one sheet into another sheet, but like I can't XLOOKUP because the common description is not like identical, so it's not going to recognize it. So I'm just literally like copying a cell, putting it in another cell, and I'm like, I know Andy would figure out some way to just like.
It's called fuzzy match.
Is that a thing?
Yes.
Come to my desk after this.
I'll show you later.
Right.
But again, that's my stubborn hard-headedness like coming out, where it's like, sure, like, you know, I've got Excel. I want to learn, like, I want to know this about our products or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, okay, then I have to go look up a YouTube video. Then I have to figure out that. Then I have to do it. And then it's, you know, you do that enough. I mean, I went through a phase where, actually it was like a 15-year phase, where I wanted to do like audio electronics and build stuff and design things. And dude, like when you talk about a daunting task that you're looking at this, you don't know what anything means. You don't know the math behind it. But you slowly but surely brute force your way into understanding it.
Yeah,
it's doable. You know,
it is.
It took years, but
I was. Listen, 2 years ago, I was nonsense. Like I had the Cigar of the Month Club. I had done the 50th, but that was just all like, you know, like here's an idea. Like what I'm doing this year. Like I've been on several phone calls this week already about tariffs and how we're going to calculate this into our whatever. And I'm like, I never thought I'd be doing this. Like, I'm a history major.
Yeah.
Like, I was sweeping floors next door when I was 20 years old. What the hell am I doing talking to the CFO about tariffs?
Yeah.
And he's going to listen to me?
Let's get back to the American Revolutionary War. That's what we really want to talk about.
Well, another one's on the horizon. You just wait. And that's what the cool thing about this industry is, like, you know, there's some familial heritage, obviously, when you look at families like Padron or Fuente or whoever, where it's kind of passed down. But otherwise, like nobody, and we have some smart people in this industry, nobody went to school for any of this. Like in this, occasionally, like they bring in a marketing guy, you know, who went to school for marketing. But generally, like the crux of this industry is just people who loved it and excelled their way and forced their way up. And how many of them would do well in other industries? Some of them. I think I would, at this point, do well in a similar in another industry, only because if you can make it out of this warfare that is the tobacco, you know, I've never even been able to use Facebook like paid ads. Like how easy? When I look at companies that like have like, you know, spend $5 and it pushes it out to 100,000 people, I'm like, you have no idea how good you got it, man.
Right.
I could pay $5 and 100,000 people will see this. But the industry is really cool in that it's so much of it is like organic. It's people who had a cigar or went into a cigar shop and then just never wanted to leave. And then just kind of... The
whole reason I even got into cigars was totally by accident.
Oh, you fell on one?
Oh, close enough. I was working at like a liquor store, and the humidor guy had quit, and they were trying to figure out if the manager wanted me in the deli, and my assistant manager was like, he smokes cigarettes, put him in cigars. And literally that changed my life. So I even...
You moved states.
Yeah, I even...
You crossed the Mason-Dixon because you smoked cigarettes.
I even like messaged him recently, and I was like, you're the credit for where I am now. So thank you.
He smoked cigarettes, but also that was back in what, like 2006, 2004. Yeah, so that was back when like that made sense. That move. Yeah, you just put he's got smoke. Like put him in the room where it smokes.
God, could you imagine if I went into the cheese departments?
I worked in cheese at an Italian supermarket when I was just out of high school.
Oh,
I
man,
worked
we
at
could have
Corrado's.
been coworkers.
It could have been. I mean, listen, there was a point, because whenever I work at something, I need to just obsess about it. I knew every kind of feta. We had Egyptian feta, which was extra dry and salty. We had French feta, which was extra creamy. Greek feta was like standard.
Yeah.
There was a Turkish feta. We had every kind of feta. We had an American feta that stuck. Like, it was not good. Bulgarian was also very good.
I feel like cheese and cigars are kind of the same like that. There's no innovation. It's already all been done. It's centuries old.
It's centuries old. It's fancy, but it's also like not. Like, if you think cheese can be an extremely fancy addition to like a table, or it could be the most like here's American cheese.
Right, and then you cover it in black wax, and all of a sudden it's more expensive.
Exactly.
But it's like putting a fancy band on it.
Think of like cigars. You have the $25, and then you have just cheroot nonsense. That's just it's basically paper wrapped in other paper.
And then you have the Swisher Sweets, which is American cheese.
Exactly. I mean, that is the American cheese. But then you have like this is like a fine like a foie gras infused brie or something like that.
With truffles.
With truffle oil and everything.
Yeah.
And you got to wear gloves when you serve it. But it was seeing the kind of dichotomy of the AUSA and General this year going in like very like two different directions. Now, listen, General has also had their time in the sun with Cohiba the last couple of years of like very expensive, the Spectre and everything like that. But it's just it's very interesting directions companies are going. The other big thing I wanted to talk about from the trade show, and you saw it from some of the cigars I gave you, was the revamp of Crown Head's packaging and branding.
Yeah. Looks fantastic.
Looks really good. I smoked the new Broadway yesterday. It was amazing. Sweet, nice broadleaf made at Naxa. And I told this to John. So La Imperiosa, I think, just gets no credit in his lineup. And people tend to forget that that's the original blend of Las Calaveras. The Las Calaveras 2014 that everyone like drools over. Oh my God, I can't. La Imperiosa, they literally came out with it like the next year. And it's the exact same blend. I think also made at my father. So now with the new brand, but I feel like the name and the branding, maybe some people didn't make the connection and it just kind of fell into like this obscurity. Some of his best cigars fall into obscurity.
Yeah. There's some of the best cigars in general fall into obscurity.
It really is a shame. It really is. But that one in particular, so I was impressed with the new branding overall. So what he's rebranding is obviously the new Broadway has the new branding. Mil Diaz Maduro has the new branding. And La Imperiosa has the new branding. I think he's going to see an increase in sales on that cigar because it was the most impressive out of all the new brandings. It has that blue, but it's like inlaid with gold. It pops really nice. It looks like a completely different cigar, and I'm hoping that this lights a spark under people. I'm like, dude, go smoke this thing. If you want to talk about the glory days and like the Las Calaveras 2014 is a Mount Rushmore, like this is it. And it's not going to be that different. It's not going to be. I think it might be different sizes than the original release was, but even that I'm not sure about.
But that like all of this goes back to the like we've talked about a million times, where there's such like this weird veil thrown on the industry, where it's like we'll tell you straight up that it's the same cigar, and it literally is. But then you'll have arguments about different. New packaging comes out. Oh, it's the exact same cigar. Nah, it tastes different.
I call it band bias. It 100% exists because I've worked on projects. I'm not gonna name them here. You know what they are. Some of our biggest brands where we've changed factories and blends to no response from anyone, and then years later change the packaging, and now all of a sudden it's the most different thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. 5 years ago, it was different.
I know some private label brands. It's not ours. It's another company's. And I know for an absolute fact, because I was there for the development, that it's literally the same cigar the company makes with just a different band.
Yeah.
And it's like you'll tell people that no, it's literally this cigar. That's it.
Do you know how?
And they don't
often when I'm working on a project, especially if it's a factory that I haven't worked with yet. I know their work, but I haven't worked with yet. I'll call them and be like, hey, we want to do this project. Here's what we're thinking. I'm like, make me this, and I'll tell them another brand that they make. I'm like, just make me that. We want it in like these sizes, and then we'll do our own. Because sometimes, like, you have an idea of, like, I really like this blend. I think it would go great in this size, and then we add in this packaging and this price point. So I'll tell you off camera, which I've done that a couple of times.
I know one that you're working through right now.
Yeah, where I'm like, just give me, that's another one. Where I'm like, just give me that one. Because for some reason, the consumers aren't realizing when you do that. And even if, like, industry people realize it, we still smoke it. Like, I don't care. Like if it's a good cigar and it might be a new experience in a different size, and I also like the packaging. Wait, there's a ton of that. Listen, there's only so many combinations.
There's I'll tell you off camera, but there's one blend that I would like to get samples of. They quit making it, but I'm interested to see if it's as good as the ones that I found. Because anyways, I'll tell you off camera.
Please do. Is it a big guy?
Yeah. Yeah. But it was discontinued a while ago.
Then the opposite thing is you have some of these blends that you remember from back in the day being like, oh my God, this was the greatest thing ever. And then whether it's your palate changed or the industry changed. So I'll give you an example. I remember, and not that I think they're bad cigars now, but the Partagas Decadas, the green labeled Partagas, that was like high society. Like, it was so exclusive and whatever. And I remember smoking and being like, this is the greatest cigar ever. Now, I think it's still a very good cigar. But, like, if you took the band off of that and gave me that cigar now, compared to other stuff that General is releasing, I'd be like, it's fine. I prefer the Punch Golden Era or the Diesel, Vintage or Diesel Disciple or the new La Gloria. Like, I prefer these things over it. But back then, it was the be-all and end-all.
I still clamor for the old Camachos. Back whenever it was still, Aladino doing them. And they've since made a version that's similar, but it's just not. I know that they have the blend and they could redo the blend. I think it's just one of those they want to move on.
Well, it's different. Once Davidoff took over, it's like it's just different. It is different tobacco than.
Well, but like Aladino would be the continuation of the old.
Oh,
Camacho.
so you want Aladino to recreate what they did when they were making like the Camacho?
Yeah.
Which Camacho?
Just the regular.
Just the standard.
The regular Corojo, which they make the Corojo Reserva. But it's very similar to like the Diploma. That's
right.
Like,
what do you think of
more medium
modern Camacho, like Davidoff Camacho?
It's good. It's different.
It is. I
think that's what's kind of colored my thoughts on it. I mean, like, dude, the broadleaf and the Nicaragua are crazy good. The Connecticut, when they sold, they said the blend would stay the same, and I think it did stay the same.
Yeah, it's still pretty. I feel like it's pretty similar. But you got like what people might not realize is Camacho was like. It was a big brand, but it was like a very nerdy niche brand for the time. It was almost, I guess you would call it a boutique blend of the time, a boutique brand.
Yeah.
But you have to, if you want this to be a more like mass volume, like just kind of in the zeitgeist of every cigar smoker, like what they've turned it into, you have to alter the blends because like the original Triple Maduro, it wouldn't have translated to the mass audience.
Yeah, I haven't tried the new Triple Maduro.
It's good. It's good. You had to have smoked when we were in Honduras. I smoked every one of the Camachos.
Certain I did.
Yeah, it's very good. But it's very, like, the original one, it's just very, very different. The original one, there was so much smoke. Yeah. Like, it just poured out smoke. But, yeah, when you take something from, like, niche... like, oh, the nerds really like this, and then you want to make it into something bigger, like, and more mass appealing, you have to tweak. Think of, like, some of the, most boutique like an HVC is not a good example because I actually think that they have mass appeal in terms of their profile. Take like a Bishop's Blend from Black Label Trading Company.
Yeah.
If you want to make a Bishop's Blend, you're just gonna take that name and you want to make it more for like the masses, you got to change the blend on that. Just because it's for a certain demographic, whereas all the Camachos, from the Connecticut to the Corojo to the Broadleaf, like a lot of different people can enjoy them.
Yeah.
It has a little bit more mass, which you need, and they've done an amazing job rebranding that into what it is today. But I do I wouldn't mind Aladino recreating some of that magic.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Are we gonna do a new private label? Remake the old Camacho?
So I'm actually gonna I want to get in touch with Aladino.
Dude, they make
Tyler gave me somebody's phone number because he used to work with Christian.
Yeah. I mean, dude, because
they do amazing. Like, the ones I've had, I've been amazing.
Well, I mean, the Punch Golden Era is their wrapper leaf. Mm-hmm. Like, they make.
Trust me,
great
I know. I know how
Sorry,
that's
not to
made.
rub that in. But yeah, doing something with them would be great. I'm glad that they did get the Punch, contract or whatever for that because they deserve it.
I told certain people who are way above me many years ago to take some of their heritage brands and do some fun one-offs with these different really cool manufacturers because it'll get you in with a different generation and a different genre. It doesn't really cost you anything. They'll sell. And I think they tested that out when they did the Henry Clay with Pete Johnson, which was an excellent cigar.
There was a really?
Mm-hmm. It was called the Henry Clay Tattoo. It came out right before, like a couple of years before they really started going with AJ and all this stuff.
Okay.
They did the Henry Clay Tattoo, but it wasn't branded right. Like you should have done a Henry Clay. Like it should have been more Tatuaje-esque in its branding. Yeah. I think some people didn't make the connection that it was made by Pete Johnson. I think that was the issue there. But I like and listen, we're doing a project with Nick Melillo that I think is going to prove my point.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be one of the most successful brands I've ever done.
Yeah, we're waiting until next year.
Yeah, he wants to unveil it at the show.
I know, it's going to be great.
So, but he's coming up in June, and he's going to bring me test blends. He promised me.
Nice.
He promised me.
Nice. You got to hook me up. I got to be on that panel.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's trying to get a certain kind of tobacco because of what the name of the thing is, and I'm like, we don't need that much of that. Like, just a little bit. Worry about the rest of the blend.
Somebody's going to figure this out. You dropped too many hints.
Dude, no, they don't like me. No one listens to me. So Nick at the show also he had two new things. He had a new event only cigar. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it looks really cool. It's like this box press double perfecto. It comes in like a wood box.
With that.
Oh, you like that one?
I'm obsessed. Yeah.
And then his new the new 10th anniversary, which he gave me a sample of, but with no bands. I think some of those got hit in the AJ fire.
Makes sense.
And then he also has a new Wise Man, both Maduro and Natural Lancero.
Yeah.
But then he swapped out, instead of using the San Andreas wrapper on the Maduro Lancero, he went broadleaf. He always goes back to. He loves it. He loves it so much. I'm trying to think of anyone else that kind of struck me. No, like I said, it was a lot of like LEs or like small batch runs or new sizes. I think probably the biggest like announced release of the year was probably the Romeo 150th, whereas the other year it was like the Fuente Padron collab. This was probably like the big one, and I think it's going to be successful. But overall, trade show was good. It was busy. The people I've talked to have did better than last year, which I think last year was that weird funky. Like it was the trade show previous to that was like only like 8 months before, so people hadn't kind of burned through their stuff, and they didn't have the summer cash yet, so it was just a weird show. But this one, and I think instead of doing the 4.5 day or the 3.5 days, just doing 3 days was good. And I like New Orleans. I'm mad that after next year it's going back to Vegas twice because that just stinks. And it's not even at the Venetian; it's at the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Oh, that's the worst because then you have to taxi over to it.
You got to taxi over it, and so it means you either stay in a nice hotel, and have to taxi all the way down, Or if you stay in that area, you stay at like the SLS, which I don't even know if it's open anymore.
Yeah.
Like you stay in like just like these trashier Vegas. I just don't like Vegas.
I mean,
I just don't like
the Venetian was great because you got the Venetian, the Wynn, the Palazzo, all connected. You know, all the restaurants are there.
They would put us in the Treasure Island. But you walk right outside and up the Sky Bridge and right over, and you're there.
Yeah,
it was super easy to get to.
I stayed in Circus whenever I was like 15, 16 with my old best friend.
You went to Las Vegas at 15 with your best friend.
Yeah, and his family.
Oh, okay. You didn't mention that part.
But man, we caused havoc in that place.
Oh, you mean that's exactly the hotel that what's his name stayed at? Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. What's his name?
Oh, Hunter S. Thompson.
Hunter S. Thompson was stayed at when he took like the mescaline or whatever and tripped out. It was at Circus.
It was crazy.
Is it still there?
Yeah, I think it's still there. Yeah.
They had to. Some of these hotels though in Vegas are still like. They're like, oh, it's like a nostalgic name, and I'm like, yeah, but like you should probably get rid of it.
Yeah,
like I think there's still like the Camelot or the whatever, like the Castle one.
There's so
like it's starting to move on.
What is it? It's funny because I've pretty much only been to the Venetian Palazzo Wynn because of the trade show, and then Circus when I was like 15.
Got it all over myself.
And it's a white shirt too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, you should get one of those $500 like bibs.
That was. Don't even get me started on the overpriced stuff. I walked by and I don't usually like talking shit about cigar companies because we do business with them, and I mostly enjoy everyone. But we'll end on this note. El Septimo. The fuck are they doing? Like, it's just ridiculous at this point. First of all, I don't want to say this. I'm not even sure if that stuff's real, but let's say that it is. What are you, dude? This is what upsets me is that if I had unlimited money, do you know what kind of cigar company I could make? It'd be amazing. It would be. I'd have a whole profile. I'd have tremendous branding. I'd have all kinds of accessories. They have unlimited money. And just the tackiest, like, just nonsense. Like a $25 million. Dude, like, we're in the middle of, like, we're about to be in a recession. There's the entire trade should be worried about tariffs and, like, that extra 10% that can kill a mom and pop shop. Can kill a mom and pop shop, 10%. And you're showing off a $25 million Fabergé egg humidor. Like, so out of touch and, like, not the time or place to do that.
Yeah, that whole company's rise, so to say, just screams money laundering. Like, hey, well, we got a bunch of money. How are we going to wash this?
Cigars.
$25 million Fabergé egg.
Yeah, that I made in my garage.
Yeah. Are those real rubies? No, it's pieces of glass.
Yeah. Well, and also they're not nice. When they released some other some stupid humidor last year that was like rubies and whatever. And Hatfield put a picture of it up, and people were just like ragging on it. Like, who would spend $100,000 on this? This is stupid. And then, like, I guess the guy's daughter or whoever who like runs their social media is like their director of like communications was just commenting on people. You're too poor to even understand this. You guys shouldn't buy our brand because you're poor. And I'm like, man, not only are you guys tacky, but you're assholes. So
yeah, that company it throws me for a loop.
Dude,
I don't get it.
If there is a cigar retailer out there who would spend the most amount of money on a fancy humidor, it would be like us or CI. That's about it. Like, we're the biggest that there is. Mom and pop shop's not going to spend that kind of money. I wouldn't spend 1/1000th of that. Like, it was such a like, who is that for?
Yeah,
I think you're right. I never thought. I think it's money laundering.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it's money laundering.
Like, if you think about it, like, okay, so that was the other topic I wanted to bring up. Is I think it was last year at the show they had announced that they were going to open like 30 retail stores, and like that's what I'm saying. Okay, so you have this company with this giant influx of cash coming from overseas. It's an overseas company.
Yeah.
$25 million Fabergé egg, plans to open 25 stores. Their revenue in the U.S. has got to be like maybe $1 million at the most.
At the most.
It's right. Somebody's washing some money, or it's a pet project of somebody, or there's something. But I mean,
now listen, if you're trying to hide money from the government, tell me on the side, and I won't talk about shit. Like, listen, I'm all about hiding money from the government. If you tell me, like, hey man, like
We have companies.
we're just trying to like launder this money, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll keep my mouth shut. I don't want to cause an issue for you guys.
Right, we're gonna get a comment.
But if you're actually just trying to like make it in this industry and you're just throwing money at the problem, then you stink.
Well, their plan was to open like 25 or 30 stores. They were only going to sell their product. They might sell alcohol, but that's also based on local rules. But it's like, are you really going to go to? I mean, it's at that point, it's like they're eyeing Davidoff. But even Davidoff sells other stuff.
Yeah, and Davidoff also knows that like their retail stores are not for making money.
Yeah, and
they're marketing expenses.
Yeah,
like,
and they're Swiss.
Yeah.
They have all the banks that they need. They can wash however much money you
They
want.
have all the art and everything for,
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're set.
I'm going to open up a Swiss bank account.
I mean, we have connections there. We can talk to Dr. Holtman.
Yeah.
Probably knows a couple guys.
Call us if you need to wash money.
Yeah, if you need to wash me,
don't call us.
It was just very weird. And like, I don't know a single person who smokes them. I don't know a single.
I think Reggie's had them, and he's kind of like
Reggie's definitely tried it. Reggie tries everything. Has tried every single brand ever. But if you ask him, like, would you ever bring him in? He'd be like, absolutely not.
The one he said that the Addabees were good.
That's not them, though.
It's not them, but it's another crazy high-end brand.
But I've heard that Atabey and like Lord Byron are actually very, very good.
Yeah.
I've never tried them, but I've heard that they're this other weird company that kind of showed up at like this higher price point, but they actually they're out of Costa Rica, I believe. But they're actually doing some really like unique things with the tobacco, and it's translating into a good product. But also like their packaging isn't crazy. It's not like it comes in a platinum bullshit. It's like it comes in a regular box with like a nice band, but the cigar is just very good.
Right, and then God, we're just going down this rabbit hole. Then there's the other company called Bentley, which talk about appropriating a name.
I don't know how they're getting away with that.
Do they want to test the Bentley trademark?
But then again, there's also
I almost feel like
there's Lotus Vertigo, there's Lotus lighters.
Yeah.
And then there's Lotus the car, but I guess because they're not in the same. Imagine we started a cigar line called like BMW. Listen, you don't have it trademarked here. We can do whatever we want.
Ford Motor Company.
Yeah.
They're
Shelby
like,
Mustang cigars.
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing is because like if you do test that trademark, like if Bentley went after the Bentley cigars and they tested that trademark, I forget what it's called. It's like rating or something. But if they test it and they lose, then that name's up for grabs in any industry.
Yeah.
Which I
should go grab it for like wine or something.
I once had Lockheed Martin threaten to sue me.
Why?
Because I was using the name Skunkworks.
So? Did they make something?
They were claiming, I forget what the level of trademark is, but it's like the highest level of trademark. It's McDonald's and Coca-Cola and Victoria's Secret. At one point, Burger King, there's like a place in England that opened a Burger King. Burger King sued them, and they lost the trademark lawsuit. So therefore, Burger King is opened up to anybody to use.
So there's one burger shop, I want to say it's in Wisconsin, but don't quote me, that is called Burger King, and they were open before the other Burger Kings, and
maybe and
the corporation lost their lawsuit. So like that place is still called Burger King today.
Yeah. So I after they sent me the cease and desist, I like looked it up and I was playing dumb with them. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, there's a lot of weird laws with it. But at some point, I like pulled the rug out from underneath them, and I was like, "Dude, if you want to test your trademark, let's test it." Like
you said that to Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, I was like, if you lose this,
dude, these are the guys who killed Kennedy.
You're screwed. Right? I know.
Be careful.
Then I stopped hearing from them after I did that.
Yeah, be really careful. I've been really knee deep on Kennedy conspiracies.
I have since let the domain name go, Lockheed Martin, and I have no plans on getting another one.
I'm gonna go try to trademark like P-51 Mustang. Just like start doing like all these like airplanes and stuff. 747.
Dude, we gotta get the full use of our legal department.
I had a great idea for a line of accessories that was gonna be called. Cut this name out, Tyler, when you're doing that.
Oh yeah.
Line.
Yeah.
And like so, and this is the worst. When somebody has it, but like they're doing bullshit with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, just give it to me. Like you're wasting. You own it, and then you're like, oh, I make like fucking. It looks like a propeller. I'm like, that's dumb. Give me the trademark.
Yeah.
Like there's so many good names out there that are just owned by other people that they haven't used in years, But if you tell them you're interested in using it, they're going to use it again, or they're going to gouge you on the like it really is a shame. We have like nothing trademarked. I'm trying to build up. We've probably trademarked more names in the past year under my tenure than probably the previous 5. And I haven't even done that many. But we had so few things all of the Romeo like Shakespeare stuff, none of it's trademarked by us because Jim used it all when he was that famous.
Yeah.
Which stings. All right, you got to get back to work. You're very busy now. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But Andy, thank you so much for joining me and replacing Chris for this week 1. I don't know who our guest is going to be for next week. I'll find somebody, or we'll just have a little solo episode. Maybe I'll smoke something interesting and let you guys know what's going on. But thank you all very much for watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, keep it lit.